Welcome everyone to the Spring Week 2 General Meeting. For this meeting, I'm going to present to you guys about how to become a pharmacy technician. Okay, what is a pharmacy technician? A pharmacy technician is someone who performs pharmacy-related functions under the direct supervision of licensed pharmacists. So this may include tasks such as typing in prescriptions or filling medications or helping patients pick up their medications. Okay. Okay, why should you get a license? So getting a license allows you to become more competitive in applying for a pharmacy related job, and it's becoming a requirement for many technician jobs because you aren't allowed to do a lot of stuff such as filling if you're or putting on prescription labels if you don't have a license. And it also allows you to work with and learn more about drugs. So studying for the test to become a pharmacy technician, you learn actually a lot about drugs. And working in a pharmacy, you see them every day. So it's really easy to remember the names of the drugs. And finally, it shows that you're committed to the pharmacy technician. As you'll see through this PowerPoint today, there are actually a lot of steps to becoming a pharmacy technician. And if pharmacy schools see that you went through all of this, they know that you're committed to the profession and you know what you're getting yourself into since you've been working in a pharmacy setting. Okay, how can you become a pharmacy technician? So generally, it's going to be these 4 steps. So first, this is a new requirement that started in the beginning of this year, 2020. You have to complete a PTCB recognized education or education or training program or do an equivalent work experience with a minimum of 500 hours. For this, I'll talk more about it later on, how you can find these programs and like how much they will be. And second step is to pass the pharmacy technician certification exam. So you have to do step 1 before you're eligible to take the exam. But the exam isn't too bad. I'll talk more about that later. Step 3 is to apply for board licensure. So even though you pass the pharmacy technician certification exam, you're not actually licensed as a pharmacy technician yet. You still have to apply for board licensure in the state that you're in. And after you are officially licensed, you can start looking for a job. Okay, who can apply for PTCB Certified Pharmacy Technician certification? So there are some requirements for this. Anyone who completes the program or an equivalent work experience and can disclose all criminal and state Board of Pharmacy registration/licensure actions, complies with all the applicable PTCB certification policies, and passes the PTCE. So as soon as you pass the PTC, you'll be able to receive your certificate showing that you are a certified by the Pharmacy Technician Certification Board. Okay, so about the PTCB education program, where can you complete it? Or where can you complete the equivalent work experience? So they have a directory for these the programs, and you can search for programs that are certified, whether it's in colleges near you or if it's an online course. I was looking through it earlier. The ones at colleges are actually pretty expensive here in California. They could be upwards, above like $1,000. So I looked at online ones, and there is one right here called RX Tech Exam. Their price is about $170 to $200. So it is a bit expensive, but it is required for being eligible to take the PTCE. An alternative would be doing the equivalent work experience, but you'd have to work 500 hours before being able to take the PTCE. So, and you would also have to find a pharmacy who is willing to train you to become a pharmacy technician for that long. So that is pretty difficult, as if you're in PPS and receive the opportunity emails, you see that some pharmacies are willing to train you. So it depends which option you prefer, whether it's doing the online program or program at a college, or working 500 hours before being able to take the PTCE. So after you complete the training program, you are gonna be eligible to take the PTCE. So when and where can you take it? You can take it anytime throughout the year at a Pearson VUE Professional Center. The closest testing centers to UCI would be in Tustin or Santa Ana. I'm not sure what they're doing now because of the coronavirus, but you can always contact them for that. Okay, so for the logistics of the exam, it's going to be 90 multiple choice questions. 10 out of the 90 questions do not count. They are pilot questions to test new questions that they want to put on the test. You have 110 minutes to answer the questions. Sorry, 110 minutes, so 1 hour and 50 minutes. And there's going to be a 5-minute tutorial and a 5-minute survey after the exam. There are no penalty for wrong answers. Yes. So the total test taking time will be 120 minutes. The exam breaks down into 4 categories. Medications will take 40% of the questions. Federal requirements will take 12.5% of the questions. Patient safety and quality assurance will take 26.25% of questions. And order entry and processing will take 21.25% of the questions. These sections break down even further to specific topics, so you can always look on their website for that. I'll be posting this PowerPoint in our email, and I'll have the links in the notes for you to take a look at if you want to research more about any of these specific slides. What score do you need to pass? So the scores range from 1,000 to 1,600. You need 1,400. It is definitely doable. Just make sure to study the way that we recommend you to study later on in this PowerPoint. And it is pretty expensive, so make sure to study once so you don't have to study hard once so you don't have to pay the extra fee to take it again. So resources for studying, we recommend the Mosby's Review for Pharmacy Technician Certification Exam book. It is about $40 on Amazon. It's very comprehensive. I'm confident to say that if you were to go to this book, you definitely pass the exam. There's also online resources when you're on the go, or if you don't feel like going, like learning from a book. These are some websites: Pharmacy Tech Study, DenaliRx.com, and PharmacyTechTest.com. They have a lot of different tabs with different topics that you can learn from. So topics such as pharmacy law or pharmacy calculations, or a list of all the medications in each category, whether it's like C2, C3, C4. They have the generic and brand names for that. So it's a good resource to study for the test. Yes, so tip, try to use multiple resources to reinforce your learning. And if you see the same kind of stuff across multiple resources, you have a good idea of what's going to be on the test or what's important. Okay, tips for the exam. So important topics I feel for will be on the pharmacy technician certification exam. So laws and regulation, they're always good to know. SIG codes, of course, you'll have to translate those during the test and as a pharmacy technician. pharmacy calculations for sure, knowing all the units and being able to convert or calculate specific calculations they want you to do. And also classification of medications. So classifying a medication based on its either brand name or generic name into a specific category. So if it's either C3, C4, you should know that. And tips for actually taking the exam. So get a good night's sleep. That is always good to do before a test. Use common sense. Being a pharmacy technician actually isn't too bad. You learn on the job, and common sense is very important. Make sure to read the questions carefully. You can always flag questions that you're confused about or unsure about, so to go back to later in case you don't get it the first read. They gave you a scratch board to do calculations, so definitely use that to make sure you are doing the calculations correctly. And when studying, I would practice the websites have tests that you can take, or practice tests, so I would try to practice every section until you get at least 90% before moving on, because that means you'll have a good chance at passing the test. Okay, so you've passed the PTCE and you are CPHT certified now. What do? So step 3 is to apply for licensure to the California State Board of Pharmacy. So they have an application online, and they have a whole bunch of instructions. It's pretty clear. So you can find a form on their website and then complete it, and I'll show you what you need to send to them. And only after you send in the application, they'll get back to you, and then you'll be licensed as a pharmacy technician in the state of California. Okay, so this is all the stuff you need to put in the packet that you're gonna send to the California State Board of Pharmacy. So you need a high school transcript, unopened, and you can get that from your high school. My high school charged like $3 for it, so it's not too bad. Just make sure you don't open it. There's a self-query report where they have the link on the application. It costs $4 to do, and make sure that's also unopened. The application fee for licensure is $140, so you can include that there in the form of a check or money order. You have to include a live scan receipt for getting your fingerprints done at either like a UPS or a sheriff station, and that costs around, it differs between location. It's going to be $10 to $40 depending on the location, plus the $51 processing fee. And you have to include a 2x2 passport style photo. It will be around $5 to $15. So $5 would be like Costco or Walmart. $15 would be like any other pharmacy that has photos. And you also have to include, of course, the pharmacy technician application properly filled out. They have a section with common mistakes, so make sure to look over that to make sure that your application is complete. And you also have to include your PTCB certificate inside the packets. So looking to the right, you'll see the cost. So $140 for application fee, $4 for the self-query report, $10 to $40 plus $51 for the live scan receipt or fingerprinting, and $5 to $15 for the passport photo, about $5 for the high school transcript, and $129 for taking the PTCE. So the total cost will be around $344 to $384. This is not including the cost it takes for the PTCB recognized education training or program. So a good tip would be to purchase tracking, so you can make sure that your packet makes it to the California State Board of Pharmacy. Okay, so you've got your license, now what? So final step, the step you've all been waiting for, is to apply for a pharmacy technician job. So some ways to find a job. If you're a PPS paid member, you receive our opportunity emails, and we do include job opportunities from pharmacies who contact us and are looking for pharmacy technicians. You can also ask your farm size seniors with pharmacy technician jobs to see if their place is hiring since they're going to leave soon, and if it's a good place to work. You can also search for retail or independent pharmacies near you and call them to ask if they're hiring, and you can apply online if applicable once you find out that they have a spot open. All right. And for later on, you have to renew your pharmacy technician license about every 2 years. It's not exactly 2 years. It lasts from when you get it, 1 month from the year, 1 year from the month you received it to your next birthday. So for example, if I got licensed today, April 8th, it would last until next year, June, because my birthday is in June. So the best time to get licensed is right after your birthday. So if I got licensed like July, then my license would last almost 2 years. And to renew the license, it costs $140. You can do it through check and money orders payable to the Board of Pharmacy. There's also an online, you can do it online, which I did. It was really convenient. But before you can get renewed, you have to complete 20 hours of continuing education. So out of those 20 hours, they require you to do 1 hour in the subject of pharmacy law and 1 hour in the subject of patient safety. These continuing education are like modules or lessons that you can find online, and you can find them on websites or for free for some of them and paid for on online websites. So for example, Pharmacy Times has a bunch of free ones, and PowerPack also offers a whole bunch of continuing education credits. Okay, so licensees will receive a renewal in the mail about 6 weeks prior to the expiration date. Important to note that you should not attempt to renew your license more than 60 days prior to the expiration date. Yes. Okay. Testimonial. So I'm a pharmacy technician. I work at Rite Aid on Culver. It's next to Class 302. Being a pharmacy technician is a really good experience because you can be in my experience, I was in PPS for about 2 years and became a pharmacy technician the summer, before my 3rd year. So I can hear all about pharmacy, but I won't truly know if it's right for me unless I go into the field. So after going to the field, after hearing like a whole bunch about all the different fields of pharmacy and what you can do as a pharmacist, I can honestly see myself working in a pharmacy setting. So it's really good to like get that out of the way and see if it's right for you in that aspect. Because I was actually really worried, like, oh, what if I didn't like it after 2 years of being in PPS? But luckily for me, I do like it. So it's good to start early, so you know like what you want your path to be. And being a pharmacy technician is actually really fun. And also, pharmacies will give you a lot of good training, and you learn a whole bunch about like pharmacy by working in a pharmacy. So I learned like the names for a lot of the drugs, and learned that doctors have really bad handwriting. It's also fun working with others and interacting with patients, because a lot of the time you're working the cashier and helping them pick up their medication, and you're always picking up the phone to help patients. So it's really nice interacting with them and being able to help them get their life-saving medications, whether it's like a refill or contacting doctor to ask if they can prescribe a medication. And I was actually the type of person who didn't know a lot about drugs at all before working in a pharmacy. There's like a whole bunch of over-the-counter stuff I've never heard of, like Prevacid or Claritin D. But after working in pharmacy, I have a whole lot more knowledge right now. Um, yeah, and retail pharmacy is not the only setting. As you know, if you've been in PPS, you can also become a pharmacy technician in other settings, such as independent pharmacies and hospitals. So it depends on what you like. Independent pharmacies, there's a lot more personalized interaction with patients because you're not like in a retail setting where everything is fast paced. Although that can be a good thing because you learn how to work at that type of pace, but you get to build more of a connection with patients through independent pharmacy. Hospital setting, you learn a lot. They allow you to do compounding, um, like mixing drug IVs in the hospital setting. So you learn a lot in that aspect, completely different from retail pharmacy. Hospitals will usually have like the automated dispensing cabinets. So you don't have to really count like by fives where you would in retail pharmacy. So you have a lot of opportunity to learn different types of stuff in the hospital setting. So uh, I would definitely recommend working in a pharmacy as soon as you can to see if it's right for you. And being a pharmacy technician, in my opinion, is really a really good experience. Okay, here are some sample PTCE questions. Let's see. Okay, first, SIG codes. If you guys want, you can either say it out loud or type it in chat. Does anyone know what PO means? Yes,
By
Ryan.
mouth.
Yes, by mouth. Yeah, I think the most right answer would be by mouth because it should be per oil. Sorry, per oral. Yes. So doctors will write this a lot because obviously you need to make sure the patient takes it um, orally. And does anyone know what PRN means?
As need. I remember. I don't know. I'm mostly confused.
Yes, so PRN means as needed. So doctors will write this for medications that they only need to take like when they start experiencing symptoms. Does anyone know what QID and TID means?
4 times a day and 3 times a day. Like
Yes,
kiwi quarter. I think so.
yes. So if you think of it Q as in like quad or and T as in tri, then it's pretty easy. There's also BID, which is like bi, so that's twice a day. So it's kind of self-explanatory. Does anyone know what AS means? Okay, yeah, this one is a bit hard. So A stands for like audio, so it has to do with the ear. And S, um, there is either S, D, or U. And S stands for like left, D stands for right, and then U stands for both. So in this case, AS will mean left ear. Does anyone know what CF means?
Does it mean with food?
Yes, that is correct. With food. Um, does anyone know what QH means?
Every hour.
Yes, so Q means every and then H means hour. So doctors will usually write like Q4H for like every 4 hours or Q8H for every 8 hours. So very helpful to know. Does anyone know what AC means? All right. AC
Before
means,
you eat?
yes. So
Sorry.
AC means like before meals or before you eat. So that is correct. This one should be easy. Does anyone know what HS means?
Bedtime,
Yes.
like
Yes, it means bedtime or at bedtime. That's good. Okay. Does anyone know what OU means? Okay. Following the same logic as AS, O stands for ophthalmic, so the eye, and then U means both, so both eyes. Okay, so here are the answers. Okay, here's a question. The FDA publishes a guide for approved drug products with therapeutic equivalence or evaluations, so, or generics. What is this book called? Does anyone know? Okay, it is the Orange Book. So this is good to remember. I'm pretty sure there's going to be this question on your test, but the Orange Book is where you can find like all the FDA approved generics for specific medication. Next question. Pharmacies rely on wholesale distributors to order their inventory of drugs. The transactions which involve DEA controlled drugs must be trackable and recorded appropriately. Which of the following forms would be used to order Lunesta? Is it A, DEA Form 222, B, DEA Form 41, C, DEA Form 106, or D, Standard Purchase Order? Does anyone want to give a guess? All right. If there are no guesses, the answer is the Standard Purchase Order. So DEA Form 222 is to order control C2 medications. DEA Form 41 is for, I believe, I think it's lost medications. Hold on. Oh, that's right. So DEA Form 41 is when you need to destroy controlled substances, and DEA Form 106 is when you need to report lost substances. And standard purchase order is when you need to order any controlled drugs that are not C1 or C2. So the C3, C4, or C5 drugs. Okay. A drug is recalled by the FDA, but the problem is unlikely to cause any adverse health reactions. What type of recall would this be? Is it class 2, class 4, class 1, or class 3? All right. This question is a little bit tricky. So the answer is class 3. So basically, the higher the number, the lower the number, the more serious it is. Kind of like the scheduled drugs, like C2 is the most serious drug compared to like C5. So, and it only goes up to class 3. There's no such thing as a class 4. So class 1 is when the drug causes like irreversible effects to your health. Class 2 is when they cause temporary or reversible effects to your health. And class 3 is when there are no adverse effects to your health. It's just like a problem with like labeling or branding. Okay, last question. The pharmacy technician notices that a dosage may be typed wrong in the system. The reading says 0.1 gram, but it should be 0.01 gram, as 0.1 may be too large of a dose. What should the technician do in this case? Should they call and ask the physician if it is the correct dose? Should they ask the patient? Should they alert the pharmacist to verify? or should they go ahead and change the dosage? So the answer is actually C. So there are going to be quite a few questions like this on the test. Generally, the answer is to alert the pharmacist. So if there's ever a problem, sticking with the answer that says alert the pharmacist is probably your best bet. Oh, I do not. Okay, that concludes the presentation portion. Now we'll move on to the question and answer portion. Does anyone have any questions about anything related to pharmacy technicians? You can either say it out loud or type your questions.
Hi, Kenneth.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, if you finish your education program early, like you finish the module, like any online or like physical, like education online, like is there any like due date that you need to take the pharmacy technique exam? Like you can take it whatever you want, or
I'm not quite sure, but they do have something on a website where it says you can only take it like within 6 weeks of completing your program. So that's the earliest you can take it. For as how late you can take it, I'm not quite sure about that one.
oh, okay. Check the pharmacy technician program. They say like they close the testing right now for other taker, and then they say they try to reschedule on May 1st and afterward. So like I don't know.
Yeah, so it really depends. Tiffany has a question. Do you have any tips to memorize the top 200 drugs and matching generic and brand names? There are some tricks to doing it. There are a lot of videos on YouTube where they have like mnemonics for specific brand names and drugs, as well as like what drug class or what they're used for. Oh, there's like tips to know like what they do, like knowing their prefix or suffix. So for example, drugs that end in mycin, MYCIN, are antibiotics. But to memorize the top 200 drugs or matching generic and brand names, it really comes down to a lot of practice. Just writing them, like kind of like doing a Quizlet and matching them over and over again. So it definitely takes time to do that. But what I would say, the websites have a list of the drugs, and in each drug class, I would recommend memorizing class 2, class 3, and class 4 drugs. There aren't too many in those classes compared to, there aren't too many in those classes. Class 3 like has very little. Class 2 also isn't too bad, and class 4 has a bit more, but it's still doable. As long as you remember like the important ones in those class, you should be able to like get through most of the questions that they ask you regarding like generic and brand name drugs in the exam. For Ryan, if I was to choose the option of doing work training, does my boss need to verify it and record hours so it adds up to 500? Um, I'm not quite sure how that works since it is new, but I would assume like your boss does have to verify it and record some kind of documentation with the pharmacy technician certification board before being able to complete the requirement. Let's see. For Ethan, what's your typical work week as a farm tech? So I only work weekends, Saturday and Sundays. Would not recommend that. It sort of sucks because you lose all that time for doing work and hanging out with friends. But that's what works with our schedule, basically. Um, so, oh, being a technician, there are a lot of different tasks you can do. Weekends isn't too bad because a lot of doctors' offices are closed, so you don't have to contact any doctors for any problems or any refills. But that does lead to like you having to let the patient know that you can't contact their doctor. So trade-offs. So typically, I can talk about typical work day. They're basically almost the same on the weekend. So I go in, sign in, clean everything because of coronavirus. And first, they have like this application where it has all the tasks that you have to do, whether it's like data entry, like from e-prescriptions, or filling prescriptions. So you can print out the label and then pick the right medications and start counting it. So what you typically want to do, they have like, what is it? Kind of like the due date for each task. So if something is due in 15 minutes, you do it chronologically. So um, whatever is most urgent in that matter. So typically I would do all the filling because the pharmacist is in charge of all the verifying and likes to do data entry because when they do data entry, they can go all the way to from typing up the prescription to like verifying it because it's a lot smoother that way. Um, so I would usually count and then give it to the pharmacist to verify. And also there's a lot of customers who come. So I have to switch between filling to going to the pickup window and helping customers pick up their medications. There's also, I'm situated next to the drop-off window. So there's also people who come to drop off medications. So I could go help them whenever they come. Um, and what else is there? There's also the occasional call. So you have to pick that up, either put them on hold if you're busy doing something else, or actually answer the call. It's not too bad. So you basically do fill, data entry, pickup, drop off, and then phone calls, whether it's taking in incoming phone calls or doing outgoing phone calls to verify prescriptions with doctors if you're working at a weekday, um, or to patients to remind them that their medication is ready for pickup. Let's see, Esther, would working as a pharmacy technician be seen more competitive than working as a pharmacy clerk on a pharmacy school application? I can't say for certain because I'm not on that committee, but if I were on the committee, I would definitely say yes, because there are a lot more things that pharmacy technicians are able to do compared to pharmacy clerks. Pharmacy clerks have very limited like what's it, power in regards to like what they can do in the pharmacy. So what they can do is basically only like sell the medications to the patients, and help with basic phone calls. Because as a pharmacy clerk, you aren't. It depends on the location, but my location, you aren't required to know like what each medication does or like what the names are called. So when patients are asking like, oh, can I get a refill on like what is it, Zolpidem, pharmacy clerks may or may not be able to help them, but Zolpidem, oh no, they'll ask if they can get a refill for Ambien, but on the profile it usually says Zolpidem because we usually fill the generic, so it's hard. Pharmacy clerks do not have as much knowledge as the pharmacy technician and don't have the experience contacting doctors, filling medications, typing up prescriptions. So I definitely would say that schools would see it more competitive because there's all the experience aspect as well as the taking the time, money, and effort to like get certified as well, so they know that you're like serious about um, pharmacy. From Christy, how has working as a farm tech changed your perspective on retail pharmacy? So I'm sure a lot of you have heard like from people on farm side who work at farm techs, uh, especially if they work at CVS, they don't like their jobs a lot because it's very busy. You have they don't give you enough help, and patients can be um, difficult sometimes. But so it's really important to make sure you ask ask people to see like how their experience in their pharmacy was to see if it's like worth working there because you want to be able to have a good experience. Um, but working as a farm tech, how did it change my perspective on retail pharmacy? I definitely appreciate pharmacy technicians a lot more. When I become a pharmacist and I have pharmacy technicians, I will make sure to make their lives like as like very I'll be very nice to them and appreciate them a lot and make sure to treat them well. But retail pharmacy is actually a lot of people don't like it, but I work with one of my pharmacists at my store like really likes being a retail pharmacist. It's just the type of setting like fast paced, being able to help people right there like on the corner of the street. Oh, there's a Rite Aid. I can go in, help them ask the pharmacist for help with any problem I may have. So being able to be in such like a convenient setting to help others, like she really likes that. And having the relationship with the patients, like you think, oh, they're just here to pick up their medications. You just give to them and they go. Like, no, you actually talk with them, see how their life is going. It's and you know them by name, by face, by the dog that's coming into the store. Like, you really do build personal relationships as a pharmacist and a pharmacy technician and a pharmacy clerk. So, working in retail pharmacy is very fun, I would say. It's also my first job, so it's pretty cool. Definitely not too bad, at least at Rite Aid where I work. What are some difficulties when you start to work as a pharmacy technician? No problem, Christy. Um, so there's always the difficulty of when you're starting a new job, learning all the responsibilities and learning how to do stuff. You'll have to be taught stuff a lot and you'll have to ask for a lot of help, especially when it comes to insurance, because that can be very tricky. It definitely takes some time getting used to all the different insurance names, what insurances work, um, how your specific pharmacy runs, and just doing everything that you're supposed to do. So, like for example, we're training my replacement right now. It takes a lot of time to like um, be able to do what you need to do. So at the beginning, I would let him try phone calls, but you never know what's going to be on the other end of the line. It could sometimes he would be very like unlucky to get like a super hard question from patients. So it takes some time to be able before you're able to answer those type of questions. So um, you might like irritate your pharmacists or coworkers because you don't know how to do this stuff, but that's natural because you're just starting. So I guess the hard part is to learn everything, try to learn everything as fast as you can, but also make sure to do it right. Um, and also, like, although it might irritate like the work or bother like you, it might seem like you're bothering your coworkers. You're really not. Like, make sure to ask them those questions because it's better to like be sure like you're right in doing something rather than doing it and being wrong and like messing up like the treatment of a patient. So never be afraid to ask like how to do something. Tony, let's see, can we still register to take the farm tech exam at this point? I think, well, well, first of all, you have to do a PTCB recognized education program before you're eligible to take the PTCE. So you can probably do that if it's like an online version. As for taking the PTCE, you usually have to go to Pearson testing centers in person. So right now, I think news said that they weren't allowing people to take the test right now because of the coronavirus. So definitely, I think you're still able to like study and register to take it. But as for taking the farm tech exam at this point, you probably have to wait a while before you can take it like physically. No problem. Does anyone have any other questions? All right. If there's no more questions, we'll be posting the PowerPoint and video recording in our next PPS email. But if you do have more questions, yeah, the lighting. But if you do have more questions, you can always email me. Well, I guess you can't really find my email since our website, since all the club websites are down, but it'll be in the PPS email. It's, let me just type it in for you guys. And I'm also on Facebook if you also prefer that method. But yeah, thank you everyone for coming. I hope you guys learned a lot. Yeah, that concludes the meeting here. I hope everyone has a nice rest of the week and is staying safe and having fun during these times. Oh, for Naomi, yes, we did send an email to all of our paid members with the board application. So make sure to check if it's in your email. But if not, you can email Din to send you the email. Is next week out? What do you mean by is next week out? Oh, okay, yeah. And okay. Okay. Thank you, everyone.